MC. Hey guys, we got story time with Ronnie. Journey to the Center of the Earth, Part 21. Oh boy, it's getting exciting. What are we doing? Oh, right. We had just topped out the Mount Ord, and we was just going down the little last drop with a little wiggle woggle. And we're going to end up down in right at the Saguaro Lake turnoff. So you all enjoy this here drive. And that temperature on them gauges is actually pretty legit. That gauge view is I clipped in and out from a different trip, but it was the exact same route. And in the middle of summer, as you can tell, 111 degrees. I think that was when we were at the bottom of Mount Ord. By the time we get done this thing, where that gauge view is in Fountain Hills, woo, it's 120 degrees. All right. So anyway, the other view, we're going just down the 280. Boy, I had to go and say the word, didn't I? 287. Let's just go with that. All right. So now this story, Journey to the Center of the Earth. The boys, they were getting a little thirsty. It was looking pretty grim. They had to trace their way back, and they took a different path, and all of a sudden, they were all laying there near dead. Everybody was near dead, just laying there sleeping, half dead kind of thing. So thirsty, tired. And then all of a sudden, Hans, the imperturbable Icelander, got up, walked down the way, and he was listening, and he came back and said he found some water. But it was on the other side of the granite wall. So he was just about to take his pickaxe and start knocking a hole in the wall, and everybody was like, "Oh, it's so exciting. Oh, Hans." Let's pick it up there. And when I saw him raise the heavy crowbar and commence an attack upon the rock itself. "Saved!" I cried. "Yes," cried my uncle, even more excited and delighted than myself. "Hans is quite right. Oh, the worthy, excellent man. We should never have thought of such an idea. And nobody else, I think, would have done so. Such a process, simple as it seemed, would most certainly not have entered our heads. Nothing could be more dangerous than to begin to work with pickaxes in that particular part of the globe. Supposing, while he was at work, a break-up were to take place, and supposing the torrent, once having gained an inch, were to take an yell and come pouring bodily through the broken rock, not one of these dangers were chimerical? They were only too real. Oh, chimerical, maybe. You know what? I ain't going to speculate on that one. Let's take a look at this drive before that starts to get out of hand. Isn't that a pretty drive? Oof, boy, yeah. Yeah, we come down and it just goes down, 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 down. Keep your eyes on your speed, because the Garkins, the boys in the blue, they like to sit around here, because coming down here, boy, oh boy, things get moving fast, and the road gets pretty big, so people kind of take advantage of it. And yep, you'll get pinched. All right. So, not one of these dangers. Okay, yeah, But okay, they were only too real. But at that moment, no fear of falling in of roof or even inundation was capable of stopping us. Our thirst was so intense that to quench it, we would have dug below the bed of an old ocean itself. Hans went quietly to work. A work which neither my uncle nor I would have undertaken at any price. Our impatience was so great that if he had once begun with a pickaxe and crowbar, the rock would soon have been split into 100 fragments. The guide, on the contrary, calm, ready, moderate, wore away with the hard rock by steady little blows of his instrument, making no attempt at a larger hole than about 6 inches. As I stood, I heard, or I thought I heard, the roar of the torrent, momentarily increasing in loudness, and at times I almost felt the pleasant sensation of water upon my parched lips. Let's take a look at this drive. Oh yeah, big 4-mile drive area here. These wash beds in here. Lots of great 4-wheel driving. Lots of great ATVs, 4-wheel driving. As long as it's not the summertime, you know, but wintertime, woof. Yeah, and springtime, the whole thing will be full of flowers. I have to find some of that. I got a lot of that too. All right, sensation of water on my parched lips. At the end of what appeared an age, Hans had made a hole which enabled his crowbar to enter 2 feet into the soil. Holy cow! After it appeared to be an age, yeah, it would be. 2 feet with a crowbar into granite. That Hans, some kind of miner, I'll tell you what. He had been at work exactly an hour. That's it? It appeared a dozen. I was getting wild with impatience. My uncle began to think of using more violent measures. I had the greatest difficulty in checking him. He had indeed just got hold of his crowbar when a loud and welcome hiss was heard. Then a stream, or rather jet, of water burst through the wall and came out with such force as to hit the opposite side. Hans, the guide, who was half upset by the shock, was scarcely able to keep down a cry of pain and grief. I understood his meaning. When, plunging my hand into the sparkling jet, I gave myself a wild and frantic cry. The water was scalding hot. "Boiling!" I cried in bitter disappointment. "Oh, never mind," said my uncle. "It will soon get cool." The tunnel began to fill by clouds of vapor, while a small stream ran away into the interior of the earth. In a short time, we had some sufficiently cool to drink. We swallowed it in huge mouthfuls. Oh, that exalted delight! Which rich and incomparable luxury! What was this water? Whence did it come? To us from... hang on. To us, what was that? The simple fact was, it was water, and, though still with a tinge of warmth about it, it brought back to the heart that life which, but for it, must surely have faded. I drank greedily, almost without tasting it. Let's take a look at this drive. Where are we at? Before we start counting peanut butter sandwiches here. All right. Oh yeah. Okay. This is one of the last poles, and you drop over here, and we should be able to see 4 peaks. Will be over there on the left, and we'll start rolling into the area that is now Fountain Hills, I guess. All right. Let's see if we can get a little further in this. Back of my heart, I drank greedily, almost without tasting it. Then, however, I had almost quenched my ravenous thirst. I made a discovery. Why, it is ferruginous water. Most excellent. Match. Jesus, Murphy. Okay, Murphy's Law. There we go. Okay, let's go back and just do this again, because I figured out, I figured out how to say the word. Why, it is ferruginous water. Ha! Most excellent, most excellent. Stomachic, replied my uncle, and highly mineralized. Here is a journey worth 20 to Spa. It's very good, I replied. I should think so. Water found 6 miles under the ground. There is a peculiar inky flavor about it, which is by no means disagreeable. Hans may congratulate himself on having made a rare discovery. What do you say, nephew, according to the usual custom of travelers, to naming the stream after him? Good, said I. And the name of Hansbach was at once agreed upon. Hans was not a bit more proud after hearing our determination than he was before. After having taken a very small modicum of the welcome refreshment, he had seated himself in a corner with his usual imperturbable gravity. Now, said I, it is not worth while letting this water run to waste. What is the use? Replied my uncle. The source from which the river rises is inexhaustible. Never mind, I continued. Let us fill our goatskin and gourds, and then try to stop the opening up. My advice, after some hesitation, was followed, or attempted to be followed. Hans picked up all of the broken pieces of granite he had knocked out, and using some tow he had happened to have about him, tried to shut up the fissure he had made in the wall. All he did was to scald his hands. The pressure was too great, and all of our attempts were utter failures. It is evident, I remarked, that the upper surface of these springs is situated at a very great height above, as we may fairly infer from the great pressure of the jet. That is by no means doubtful, replied my uncle. If this column of water is about 32,000 feet high, the atmospheric pressure must be something enormous. But a new idea has just struck me. And what is that? Why, be at so much trouble to close this aperture, because I hesitated and stammered, having no real reason. When our water bottles are empty, why are not at all sure that we shall be able to fill them, observed my uncle. I think that is very probable. Well then, let this water run. It will of course naturally flow in our track, and will serve to guide and refresh us. I think the idea a good one, I cried in reply, and with this rivulet as a companion, there is no further reason why we should not succeed in our marvelous project. Ah, my boy, said the professor, laughing. After all, you are coming round. More than that, I am now confident of the ultimate success. Forward! One moment, nephew mine. Let us begin by taking some hours of repose. I had utterly forgotten that it was night. The chronometer, however, informed me of the fact. Soon we were sufficiently restored and refreshed, and had all fallen into a profound sleep. Okay, that's the end of the chapter, guys. That's the end of chapter 20. Let's move it on to chapter 21. Under the ocean. Maybe we just take a half a mo and take a look at this drive and see what's going on. It sure is a pretty day. Oh, yeah, okay, yeah. Oh, I know where we're at. We're rolling into town. We about to... Oh, we should have seen Four Peaks over there. What does that sign say? Turn back now, turn back now. I think it was Sugarloaf. So right to the left there, there's a big OHV, off-highway vehicle. staging area, and it has gotten large over the years. And now they've got a full-on legit corral there, and you can, boy, oh boy, you can park a lot of stuff in there, and it is busy as all get out. And never mind all the shell casings around there. It's really safe. All right. Chapter 21, Under the Ocean. By the next day, we had nearly forgotten our past sufferings. The first sensation I experienced was surprise at not being thirsty, and I actually asked myself the reason. The running stream, which flowed in rippling wavelets at my feet, was the satisfactory reply. We breakfasted with a good appetite and then drank our fill of the excellent water. I felt myself quite a new man, ready to go anywhere my uncle chose to lead. I began to think, why should not a man as seriously convinced as my uncle succeed, with so excellent a guide as worthy Hans, and so devoted a nephew as myself? These were the brilliant ideas which now invaded my brain. Had the proposition now been made to go back to the summit of Mount Sneffels, I should have declined the offer in a most indignant manner. But fortunately, there was no question of going up. We were about to descend further into the interior of the earth. "Let us be moving," I cried, awakening the echoes of the old world. We resumed our march on Thursday at 8 o'clock in the morning. The great granite tunnel, going round by sinuous and winding ways, presented every now and then sharp turns, and in fact had the appearance of a labyrinth. Its direction, however, was in general toward the southwest. My uncle made several pauses in order to consult his compass. The gallery now began to trend downwards in a horizontal direction, with about 2 inches of fall in every furlong. The murmuring stream followed quietly at our feet. I could not but compare it to some familiar spirit guiding us through the earth, and I dabbled my fingers in its tepid water, which sang like a naiad as we progressed. My good humor began to assume a mythological character. Whew. As for my uncle, hang on, let's take a peek. Let's take a peek. I'm betting we's about getting ready to knock this sucker out. Oh no, we still got some good time. Where are we at? Well, that looks like Fountain Hills over there to me. So, oh yeah, we're going to be closing in on the Saguaro Lake turnoff here. And I think that's what we're doing. And I can see on that gauge view. Now I remember exactly where that was. I know it was in one of the other videos I did because I was whining about the 113 degrees. It was at the bottom of Mount Ord, and it was already 113 degrees. And I thought, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. And then when I got to this spot, it was 120. So I was like, oh man, I wish it was only 113. Okay. The gallery began to, 2 inches in a fall, and yeah. God, that began to mythological character. As for my uncle, he began to complain of the horizontal character of the road. His route, he found, began to be indefinitely prolonged, instead of sliding down the celestial ray, according to his expression. But we had no choice, and as long as our road led toward the center, however little progress we made, there was no reason to complain. Moreover, from time to time, the slopes were much greater. The naiad, man, I gotta figure out how to say that word, Not nay, I add. Well, we're going to let it go for now. No, I'm going to have to look it up. Hang on here, hang on. Oh, turns out I was right. Naiad it is. Sang more loudly, and we began to dip downwards in earnest. As yet, however, I felt no painful sensation. I had not got over the excitement of the discovery of water. That day and the next, we did a considerable amount of horizontal and relatively very little vertical traveling. On Friday evening, the 12th of July, according to our estimation, we ought to have been 30 leagues to the southwest of Reykjavik, and about 2 leagues and a half deep. We were now received a rather startling surprise. Whew. Well, we're just going to leave it right there with a startling surprise. Thank you so much for coming along, and we'll catch you next time. Sam C. And now we'll just leave you with just a little bit of big old Rosie. And that's that. You go, big girl.